So I guess we could slowly but steady start. Some more people are going to be joining us on the way. I guess good morning, good afternoon, maybe good evening to some of you. I know that there are people here from all over the places. We're very happy to see you all here today. As you probably know, we PixelPlex have paired with Rinne Technologies in order to walk you through some of the very fundamental questions and points a company should consider when deciding to adopt a blockchain-based solution. To start with, the person from PixelPlex, Daria Khritonenkova, who is also a blockchain consultant, who is very well-rounded in questions of decentralized optimization. She will start by providing you with some basic information on a very specific framework of blockchain solutions. As we all know, since 2013, there have been many technologies, many frameworks that try to solve this or that problem, but specifically, Hyperledger Fabric has been chosen by many companies so far. It's the most often chosen one for a number of reasons, and I guess Daria will walk us through these reasons. Daria, please take the floor.
My name is Daria Khritonenkova. I'm a blockchain strategy consultant at PixelPlex, and today, as Anastasia said, I'm going to talk about Hyperledger Technologies, especially Hyperledger Fabric. I hope that my speech will help you better understand some prospects for using blockchain document solutions and other workflow optimization tools maybe in your business. Now I will share my screen. Okay. So I would like to start with the difference between public and private blockchains. A public blockchain is a blockchain that is open to the public and that anyone can join without specific permission. All people who join the network can read, write, and participate in this network that is not controlled by anyone. It is permissionless. It means that nodes have no restrictions in joining the consensus process. As a result, everyone is free to participate and get the benefits of the platform. It's decentralized and doesn't have a single entity which controls the network. Private blockchain is indentation only, and anyone who wishes to access it must ask for permission from the governing body of the blockchain. They allow different levels of access that determine which users can write, read, and audit the blockchain. It's permissioned. It decides beforehand who can join the consensus and who can't. As a result, many nodes won't really participate in the process at all. There are one or more entities which control the network, and this leads to reliance on third parties to transact. In a private blockchain, only the entities participating in a transaction will have knowledge about it. So why companies should use exactly private blockchains? First of all, I need to say that the company running a private blockchain can easily change the rules of a blockchain, reverse transactions, modify data kept on the blockchain. Private blockchain can help you to save resources in your company. If you look at private blockchain examples, you will see that these platforms need less resources. In reality, maintaining a private system is quite simple and doesn't need that much attention. Low fees. In this network, you can transact with minimum fees. Most of the time, you may not even need a fee to begin with. Another good reason, I think, to use this network is regulations. Network infrastructure can be planned and controlled. Various network-related problems, for example, such as network delays and connection losses, might be faster to fix. Empowerment, it means that unlike public blockchain, private blockchain platforms are more focused towards companies or organizations. These do not want to empower the users, but rather the company as a whole. And the last but not least, if permissions are restricted, private blockchains can provide a greater level of privacy. Since enterprises typically need to maintain some level of security, privacy, compliance, and performance, private blockchains are often referred to as enterprise blockchains. So, and now a little bit about Hyperledger, about the history of this technology. Hyperledger began in 2015 when many different companies interested in blockchain technology realized that they could achieve more by working together than by working separately. It was formed by 30 founding corporate members who created a technical and organizational governance structure for the framework. Hyperledger was put under the Linux Foundation and has grown rapidly in the last few years. Today, over 250 organizations around the world are supporting the Hyperledger project. And nowadays, as you may see on the screen, there are 13 projects, including distributed ledger frameworks, tools, and libraries for enterprise-grade blockchain deployments. All of the frameworks, except Hyperledger Indy, are general purpose, meaning that you can store whatever type of asset you want. Hyperledger Indy is a framework that is focused on decentralized identity. For example, Hyperledger Satus is used in supply chain networks. Hyperledger Borrow is used to run Ethereum smart contracts. Iroha is used in mobile application organization. Besu is an Ethereum client designed to be enterprise friendly for both public and private permissioned network use cases. But I would like to highlight Hyperledger Fabric. Hyperledger Fabric is a perfect example of a private blockchain. It was designed by IBM for industrial enterprise. Now it's been hosted by the Linux Foundation, and among the several Hyperledger projects, Fabric was the first one to exit the incubation stage and achieve the active stage in March 2017. New version Fabric 2.0 was released in January 2020. The main features of this version are faster transactions, updated smart contract technology, and streamlined data sharing. So what are the key features of Hyperledger Fabric? First of all, this platform is an open source blockchain framework, so everyone is free to use it. It has an active and growing community of developers. Secondly, Fabric networks are permissioned, meaning all participating members' identities are known. This benefit is particularly useful in industries including healthcare, supply chain, banking, insurance, where that cannot be exposed to unknown entities. Governance and access control, it means that Fabric networks consist of channels, which are a private subnet of communication between two or more specific network members. Members on the network can transact in a private and confidential way. So each transaction on the blockchain network is executed on a channel where each party must be authenticated and transact on the channel, and this provides an additional layer of access. Chain court is a smart contract that runs on the PS and creates transaction. More broadly, it enables users to create a transaction and update the state of the assets. And the transaction speed in Hyperledger Fabric is supposed to be 3,500 transactions per second. Concerning modular architecture, I would like to say that different industries and regions may run their own networks. and different networks might need to deploy sometimes different consensus algorithms to fit their usage scenarios. So the modular architecture of Hyperledger Fabric separates the transaction processing workflow into three main stages: smart contracts called chain code, as I previously said, transaction ordering, and transaction validation and commitment. Hyperledger Fabric supports plug and play mechanism. It means that you may include any components to the system that you want. Supporting for plug and play of various components allows for easy reuse of existing features and ready-made integration of various modules. Nowadays, Hyperledger Fabric is used in different cases regarding document management solutions. For example, JOITSA is a well-known electronic archive. They specialize in large volume and storage different document types. And in January 2020, a small team of highly skilled developers created a suitable solution for this company, a blockchain-enabled archive built on Hyperledger Fabric. Archive is a beneficial solution, not just for highly regulated businesses, but for companies in every sector, because it gives the opportunity to ingest, store, and retrieve data documents with immutable evidence. Next case is e-voting. Many researchers today agree that Hyperledger Fabric technology has great prospects in the implementation in electronic voting projects. But I need to say that Hyperledger Fabric is not yet used in electronic voting at the state level, but in India, such a voting system has been proposed, which may be tested in the near future. At the same time, IBM proposed its own secure e-voting app in pilot version. They aim to build a web app in which the voter can register with their driver's license, get unique voter ID, which is used to log into the app and cast the vote. So these votes will be stored on the blockchain, and the web app shows the current poll standings. Perhaps in the future, this application will be really used at the companies and state level. Electronic verification. Secure Technologies is a leading provider of federated identity, has own digital network, Verified Me. Verified Me is a digital identity and attribute sharing network that helps people to verify their identity quickly and securely from any smartphone using personal information that you consent to share from your connections. For example, some financial information, and you always stay in control by choosing when to share your information and with whom, reducing unnecessary oversharing of personal information. Document management. National Association of Realtors is America's largest trade association. The team of developers created a blockchain based tool for recording and sharing information about member engagement across the nation, realtor associations, and it's used not just a database, it also allows sharing and sending important member engagement information. And one more interesting case is TradeLens, built by IBM and Maersk. Its goal is to enable through information sharing and collaboration across supply chains. With the increase in traffic, the volume of documents became simply huge, and TradeLens brings together all parties in the supply chain. Across all of these parties, TradeLens provides secure sharing of real-time actionable supply chain information, shipping milestones, cargo details and some trade documents and sensor readings so that all stakeholders can mitigate problems through predictability and exception handling. And invoice management, in short, Hyperledger Fabric allows Walmart to bring together all the carriers within its freight operations under one architecture to automate and implement universal workflows across the network. So nowadays, Hyperledger Fabric is used in different industries such as financial services, banking, healthcare, trade, food safety, supply chain management, government. On the screen, you may see companies that have already implemented Hyperledger Fabric in its businesses. For example, Walmart, as I previously said, has developed a blockchain system based on Hyperledger Fabric to trace the provenance of their products. The blockchain allows suppliers to upload certificates of authenticity to the ledger securely, bringing more trust to a system and enabling the company to trace products back to source within seconds rather than days. London Stock Exchange is using Hyperledger Fabric to record unlisted securities. Change Healthcare is using Hyperledger Fabric to track millions of transactions such as healthcare claims and healthcare insurances. So in conclusion, I would like to say that private blockchain enables privacy and security, and it's a perfect solution for enterprise, and Hyperledger Fabric is a perfect example of it. It's very flexible and can be adopted in different cases, in different industries, and nowadays many companies have already used this technology in their deals, and it can be a very useful tool in blockchain document management solutions for your enterprise. Thank you for your attention. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. I and my colleague Alex will be happy to answer it.
Yeah, thank you so much, Daria, once again for the presentation. And yes, we have one question in chat. Maybe Simon, would you want to unmute yourself and ask it yourself, or would you want me to read it up? Yeah, good.
Yeah. Hello, my name is Simon Park from Wellington, New Zealand. I'm just wondering, and you guys did a great presentation, and I think probably it would be a good idea to offer us some real example of the application of this technology.
Okay. Daria just briefly mentioned the Maersk TradeLens application. So this application was solving a real life problem. So when you have international shipping in containers, you have a lot of different documents that need to be provided together with the shipping, such as, various invoices, customs declarations, and various other, papers that need to be transported along with the shipment. Before TradeLens, it was quite difficult because all of those databases, for example, last mile shipper, then some brokerage that arranges the shipments, then the actual container ship management system, as well as various custom terminals and border controls, they all have different databases. So the solution was rather simple. They used to have a big metal box attached to each container that included all the necessary documents, which were laminated. And then this box was used, it was sealed, and this box was used so that all the necessary documents are always accompany the cargo in transit. So because of the distributed nature of blockchain and its granulated permissions, for permissioned private blockchains such as Hyperledger Fabric, they built a system, IBM Maersk, that allows all of these processes and all the document management and to sort of be available on blockchain. So they also had some obviously privacy and security concerns, which blockchain could address really well, because you could really, using public-private key cryptography, you could really granulate access to documents. So in essence, only a person who has the private key could view a particular document. Moreover, you could make this private key a temporary one, so it could expire after some time. Therefore, you will not only limit the viewers by who has the key, but also by the time window that they have. So this solution is a very good example how, on a very large scale, this technology, could sort of create benefits for business, very tangible benefits, because now the shipments that are transported using trade lanes are much more efficient. They track all the events, the entire history is available to the appropriate users in one single location. And all the entire document management and its history, who accessed the document, who viewed them, when they were generated, they are available again to appropriate users at all times. So this is, I think, a prime example how blockchain, IBM Fabric blockchain, could solve a real life problem.
Oh, thank you so much.
No problem.
Thank you for your question, Simon. And this was actually Alex Dolgov, the head of blockchain consulting at PixelPlex. He is one of our dear panelists, and let me introduce you to other panelists who are with us here today. So we're going to move slowly to the session of questions and answers. First person who I want to introduce would be Wong Tuck Wai, who is an advisor to many companies out there, who is proficient in audit, in Malaysian tax system, in internal financial controls, and he's a managing partner at WTW and Co. And also, of course, as mentioned earlier today, with us here are the co-founders of Rinne Technologies, Erno and Yuki Aizawa, who have been working for years on such solutions, doing their own market research in terms of different industries and what to pay specific attention to once deciding to adopt such a technology. Of course, we wouldn't be able to cover all the industries and all the businesses today at once, would be complicated, but we will try to pay specific attention to the Middle East and South East Asia regions and to Islamic finance industry in particular. Just to begin with, maybe Erno and Yuki could start by telling us how did they decide to work on such solutions, meaning what kind of problems did they see in the world for the companies that they wanted to solve, or where did this journey begin? So how did you decide to approach such a specific topic? Erno, please.
I'm going to go first, if you don't mind. Hi, a warm greetings to everyone here, participants, PixelPlex, for organizing this. Warm welcome and warm, really a temperature from where our company is based in Malaysia, literally. First, quick introduction about us, me and Erno, both of us co-founders in Rinne Technologies. Combined, we coming from IT, banking software background, as well as Islamic finance industry, mostly in technologies. And for that, just quickly, the aspiration that is going to be combined with how we came about to coming up with our aspirations about work as a company and as coming up with our own technology, partnering with you, PixelPlex and blockchain. It's kind of accidental in terms of a pain point for us. Taking a back step, in every industry or any business, how small, how big, I think there is no questions that we have a lot of documentations, paperworks, internally, externally, and how we want to manage all of that, especially in case of being a foreigner running a company in Malaysia. That was our first pain point. Combined with this pandemic, so many restrictions, constraints, and how do we manage how do we reach to our files, documents, where we can't even go to the office, and small pains around there. I'm sorry. So that was developing into the actual product. And as a backbone, before even speaking of that, before this blockchain became such, just now, Daria, for your presentation, we talked about so many industries and use cases, use cases in different businesses. But Erno started pinpointing about this blockchain technology way before we even had idea what blockchain was about. That was like a decade. And then we combine our knowledge and expertise in how we can serve, for example, being a foreigner in Malaysia, and how do we do our businesses in this constraint. That all came about in a nutshell. Erno, would you like to say something?
Well, good afternoon and good morning to Europe and Middle East. Good afternoon to Asia. As Yuki well said, it's everything started. Well, the thinking started a couple of years back. Indeed, technology, blockchain technology, looked already exciting. However, we missed some real use cases. There were some activities here and there that all seem to be kind of not really using the main advantages of a blockchain, and I'm pretty sure Alex will talk about it. There are some questions related to that one as well. For us, the first time when you said we had this eureka feeling, it's working as a startup or a small company, or as a matter of fact, any company, and we'll come back to that later, in Malaysia, for example. But it turned out that in all the Commonwealth countries, the situation is similar, and we can find in Europe, Middle East, similar situations as well. It's a lot of, if you're running your own company, it's a lot of manual work. And as Yuki mentioned, there's a lot of documents to be signed. Let's put Malaysia. If you want to open a bank account as a company, you have to have a company resolution for that, and the company secretaries, Mr. Wong here, he will ask you to, he will send you a document. You have to print it out, sign. As many directors you are, you have to sign those, and then you have to send it back to them. Now, sounds easy, but imagine if you have 5-6 directors, and imagine that those directors are not even in the same city. Imagine that the directors are not even in the same country. So one of our directors at that time was located in Europe. So the only solution is to have the paper DH sent by DHL to Malaysia. Now, can you imagine if you had to do it on several times per month, only for such a small things? Now, we said that, hello, something's wrong with this process. And then, of course, we have a problem of trust. We have a problem of security. Obviously, from a company secretary point of view, they have to make sure that the person signed is the person who signed. So how do you make sure? Of course, the good old handwritten signature, physical signature. Now, we wanted to change that. Let's see whether we have an online solution which is safe enough, can process fast, can provide you fast processing. And then here, slowly we reached out, we met our friends and partners from PixelPlex, who we worked out the technical parts. I mean, they worked out technical parts. We put our heart and soul in providing the flow. And now we reached a point where, and we talk about later, when where the process can be automated, and that's a huge, huge help for companies, not only for their own legal business, and not only for small companies, but basically everywhere where you have communication between several parties. Those parties could be within the same company, same group, or could be external companies, and we come back to that. So again, as a summary, the idea was coming from a personal experience. Second personal experience is because Anastasia mentioned Islamic finance. We both were working actually in Islamic finance space. I was implementing IT solution for large Islamic banks in Middle East, in Saudi specifically, in Malaysia as well. And you will see Islamic finance has some specifics, very complicated financing products, where the process itself has to have a certain sequence in order to be Sharia compliant. And this is to manage these expectations with the human force. I mean, with just the eyeball checking, it's not really possible. You have to have a solution behind that. And then obviously the big banks can afford certain enterprise solution, but the small companies, the sector of underserved, both on financing side and the SME side, they won't be, they're not allowed, they're not ready for that. So that was the second, let's call it project, where we introducing the blockchain technology at the end. Let's call it an online technology backed by blockchain, so that's more accurate. So I think that's the background. And we can move to the next question then, because so many things to discuss about it. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yes, of course. Let's move on. And as a next question, probably a good question would be, what kind of businesses, or what kind of, should it be enterprise level, should it be startups? So what kind of businesses should particularly take a look at such solutions? And I mean, everybody have heard probably of such a thing as ivory tower, where a leader of organization does not really keep in touch with the actual market or even the product. And there are many other players in the company who would rather make this or that decision than the leader, but they are not given this power because there's no technology for it, and it takes a lot of yes and no's and emails back and forth. So maybe for them, it would be a good idea to have such a decentralized solution where the leader can trust their decisions as well. So what other businesses can you name, or what business cases can you name who should really take a look at this? Probably Yuki, right?
Yes, I will take this one just to start with, and Erno can also jump in. As in the introduction or experience part earlier, I've already mentioned, I can't think of any businesses, large or small, where there is no communication or paperwork that is not needed. So I think it's every business, or even a one-man show, one-woman show, having a business from home, anyone would need this kind of communication plus documentation with internal, external, for your own storage, for your own record, reconciliation, whatever. So as cheesy as it is, it can be applicable to any industry. Sky's the limit, as Erno's favorite line, more like the opposite. Yeah, it really is. And again, going back with this constrained pandemic, constricted environment, or beyond, we are all talking about digitalization, how we can efficiently embark on how we can do with the touch point on our mobile, or it doesn't have to be that way. How do we reach to what we want to achieve? Streamlining our, whether it's internal, external, your own business, it's so many touch points that's needed. That's where I think I will put my 2 cents.
Interesting. Thank you so much. So I guess, yes, any kind of business can take a look at it if we look like that, right? The question in the future probably would be whether it's going to be one solution everyone should be using, or whether every company going to have their own solution. That's going to be a race too. Interesting to look at.
Can I add just a sentence, because our first one of our first clients, a major public listed company here in Malaysia, started to use our solution. It actually was it was driven by their CEO, the change. So that's that much about the Ivory Tower. She is very conscious about going green, about running a business which is paperless. And then she told us that, look, guys, you know how many paperwork I have, and I have to sign on monthly basis, literally just from her point of view, unnecessary signatures. They're printing out literally tens of thousands of pages of paper, and everything, all of these can be moved in an integrated solution. So I think, again, this is a huge PLC with the public listed company. The more, even the small companies that we feel that as a startup. So.
Understood. And you see, okay, we know that such solution is needed. So what would be probably the advantages for a company of adopting? Just like maybe several points, maybe we'll repeat ourselves a little bit. So for decision making, for digital signing, for document management in general, what would be the main advantages of adopting a blockchain-based solution?
Yeah, I'll take this one. Blockchain has certain qualities that allow for things that are not possible with any other solution. In essence, the record that blockchain creates is immutable. So it's almost impossible to tamper with it. If a centralized document management system, some rogue admin, a hacker, or just a server error could demolish, the entire system, blockchain is a lot more stable in that regard. Also, the use of public and private key security allows, for more privacy and security of the information. Only people with a private key could view the document at the other end. So that ensures the overall operational security of a business that runs a blockchain solution. So in essence, it's more stable, it's more secure, and all of the stability and security is on the protocol level. That means that this is encoded into the system itself, and it's not some additional third party or sort of module-based security addition to the system. It is just the way the system is. And there is nothing you could do to change that. You can't attack it. You can't retrieve information that you're not supposed to have access to. You can't tamper with the records that have been made previously. So, and also potentially, the costs could be also quite lower because the running costs could be lower for blockchain solutions, simply because it operates at a protocol level. So yeah, there are many benefits to such solutions comparing to traditional paper sort of management and centralized document management.
Thank you so much. So if a company decides to onboard such a solution, where should one begin? Or where should the research start? So what should the company consider first of all? Maybe Mr. Wong, could you please take this one perhaps? Just unmute yourself, please, because we cannot hear you at the moment. Yeah, hi.
Hi. Thank you, Anastasia. Thank you, PixelPlex, for the invitation. Warm greetings from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. Salam sejahtera that is welcome in Bahasa Malaysia. Yes. So before we I just want to give a little bit of some background. Actually, way back in 2018, the Malaysian government has actually introduce a policy to actually moving towards a service and IT driven economy or industry, and the government has started an initiative to actually digitalize on the public sector. All right. So in our profession, the accountancy profession, we have actually issued a blueprint for all the practicing members of the accountancy profession to actually, which are the area that the government is looking at, and what are the areas we can actually digitalize, So some of the initiatives that we have area of automation, we have area of blockchain, and we have also area of data analytics, and how we can actually digitalize our process. We want to reduce carbon footprint, we want to have paperless, and more importantly is actually, we can actually continue to work from home, in a situation like what we are experiencing now. So that is so much. In fact, in this beginning of this year, our Prime Minister has further announced to give, I would say, tax breaks, tax incentive for investments into this area, in industrialized, in IT, in technology, in digitalization. So Malaysia itself is trying to, I would say, trying to be ahead. We are trying to be ahead in Southeast Asia, and also to attract foreign investment in the area of IT, in the area of blockchain, in the area of automation. All right. Now, so going back to what Erno has said earlier on, like for example, in my practice, I'm a company secretary. So we are actually assisting multiple clients. Some of them could be regional. Some of them maybe have branches or offices maybe in Europe and the US. So we have directors, some of them are from Malaysia, some of them are actually from overseas. Now, sometimes when we want to get things to be done, for example, if there's a change in directors or to get the accounts approved, so we must get all these directors to actually approve on their accounts. And the usual way that we have done is, if the directors are not around, we will send out emails, and the directors would have to practically have to print out the resolution, get it signed, scan it, and email back to us to collate. So normally these kind of practices may take up 7 to 14 days to get it completed. And on the other hand, our regulators, which is the Companies Commission of Malaysia, they have actually started some of these processes to be digitalized. So in other words, like for example, like myself, we have to get ourselves to be registered to represent the companies that the companies need to comply with the requirement of the Companies Commission. So they are, with the changes that they have actually shortened the time for companies to actually to send in or to lodge their reports. So I was and we are looking at a system that is fast, secure, and we are able to comply with the requirement. Mm-hmm. So that's why we were having a discussion. I was having a discussion with Erno and Yuki from Rinne, how we can have a solution for that. Right now, with the changes that we have done, we have actually used the system developed by Rinne, which is called FLAT. It's totally paperless and it's totally secure, built on a blockchain. And once we have a resolution loaded, each individual directors will get a notification from their email as well as from their handphone. So once they got the notification, they can actually go in, log in, and get it voted for or against or abstain. Then very fast, we will get, once each of the directors has made the verification, straight away we can know from the system whether this resolution has been passed or not. And then the next day, we can actually do a lodgement to the company's commission. So all this may take within 24 to 48 hours, we can get it done. As compared to previously, we have to do it within 7 or 14 days period. So with this system, we actually try to revolutionize. Trying to not even revolution. We are actually trying to stay ahead in the competition. This will actually give us a competitive advantage. So what we want to assure our client is actually to give them top value, good value services with a lower cost. So I think with this technology moving forward, this is definitely will help our profession.
Mm-hmm. Understood. Erno, maybe could you comment a little bit? So the solutions are great out there. So if I decide to onboard it, so what do I do? Like, what does a company do really?
Well, it's very simple. It's obviously a cloud-based solution. Mm-hmm. And again, it's accessible from anywhere. And there is no need for installation from the company. You just get your account, get the access to the first user gets the access and can invite all the other users. And then you can set up let's take an example of the company secretary, like Mr. Wong is doing that. You set up your clients, and you invite the individual directors who then will be full-time members, and basically everything is automated. Whenever you upload the resolution, they get notified, they get a link, they click on the link, approve. Company secretary gets notified that the document is ready, and then they can, and we talk about later, they get digitally signed. Upon approval, they gets a digital signature, and then this document can be uploaded to the government servers. This is can you imagine the whole process is super safe and super fast. In terms of onboarding, it's basically that's all we can help with the migration of your existing databases, and then into the system in 1-2 days. So from the idea to the running the business totally automated, it's 1-2 days maximum. And let me add one more thing. It's very important, linking what Alex said and what Sir Wong said. It's the trust and the security. After all, the company secretary is fully liable towards the government bodies about the reporting they're doing. So if your clients are putting data which is not valid or not sure, they're not signing themselves, you're not sure about that, and you lodge the report, it turns out that you get the fund as a company secretary. So you have to be a very strong trust between the company secretary and the clients. And the only way, basically, I mean, this solution, especially a blockchain-based solution, will resolve that problem of trust, because you know that whoever is clicking on that button online is 100% is the person, unless you don't give away your account details. You are sure that nobody else will see your documents who is not allowed to see. Everything comes back to that part.
Do such solutions also need some kind of KYC procedure? So would you need such a service to be included?
Yes, I mean, company secretaries, obviously, they do their KYC, and getting a digital, we talk about later, but getting a digital signature or a digital certificate needs some KYC, which the service providers, in this case, the company secretary or the consulting company led by Mr. Wong is doing, is that they do a basic KYC minimum required. We discuss about later, but the moment you have that, since those are your clients, you have basically a contract with them.
I see. And do we understand correctly that such solutions can also boost trust between different companies or even different organizations, not only within one organization, but you actually could use it in different countries and so on. So would that be a case here?
I mean, from business point of view, and then I'll leave it to Alex, the rest, the technical part. But in this case, we are talking about companies using it where the directors are all over, scattered over Japan and Europe, as Mr. Wong mentioned, China and the region, Malaysia. But that's almost impossible. So I mean, very slow to have that email-based communication. Sometimes email is not enough. We talk about later. The electronic signature, the scanned documents won't be enough for the government or different government institutions. Some cases it's okay, but some cases it's not enough. So that's why you have something more which digital signature will bring in, which can be done through this online system. And Alex, please, you can explain on the technical part, if you don't mind.
Yeah, there are no barriers to use the system, across multiple continents, because basically, as long as there is an internet connection, we can use the system. Because access to a permissioned blockchain is tightly regulated, but it's regulated not by the geographical boundaries, but by, in essence, computer code and cryptography. So if you have the necessary credentials and cryptographic keys to access the system and to operate within the system and have the necessary permissions, it doesn't matter where you are. As long as you have an internet connection, you could still transact across the borders, across continents and oceans and seas. It makes no difference whatsoever.
I see, I understand. And I guess every country has its own special environment and its own special code and so on. So we wanted to take a look at Islamic finance a little bit. It's a pity that one of our guests is not with us today. Dr. Mohamad Akram Laldin, who is also he's an executive director at International Sharia Research Academy for Islamic finance. But in order to give his insights, he has sent us his a little speech from his side on this topic and on the special cases of implementation such solutions for Islamic finance industry. So I will just real quick let you hear his words.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. First of all, I would like to take this opportunity to thank the organizer for having me in this session, and my apology that I could not be with you online, but I'm able to record my voice because I'm not feeling very well today. Coming back to our topic related to Islamic finance, as all of us are aware that Islamic finance is one of the industry which is growing tremendously nowadays. From Southeast Asia, of course, and the bulk perhaps is in the Middle East. Even in Europe, we have seen some development. You see in Africa, Central Asia. So we are seeing quite a number of interests in the different regions across the globe, and this, of course, will entail that it is important for us to move forward and especially finding a solution based on blockchain for us to move forward. Now, before I go further into explaining about the need for this digitalized solution, let me reiterate to you what is the Sharia position when it comes to empowering the technology. Now, as all of us know that in Islamic finance, apart from having to comply with the regulatory requirement, having to comply with the legal requirements, it is very important for us to comply with the Sharia requirement, and that is one of the key things in Islamic finance. Now, when it comes to the Sharia position in empowering technology, blockchain. Nowadays, of course, we are talking about fintech as well. Actually, generally speaking, it is subjected to the principle in Islamic finance, which says that originally everything is permissible unless if there is any indication to show otherwise, meaning that unless if there is any verses from the Quran or any saying of the prophets which says otherwise. You see, generally speaking, I mean, empowering technology, including blockchain, is permissible from the Sharia point of view, except that, of course, I mean, Sharia have put certain guidelines for us to abide by it in order for us to ensure that whatever that we do comply with the full requirement of Sharia. I mean, it is similar, of course, I mean, to any kind of technology. Sometimes it can be used for good purpose, it can be used for bad purpose, you see. So in the case of fulfilling the requirement of Sharia, of course, I mean, it has to fulfill certain requirement. Now, what are these requirements? Among others, of course, for example, in Islamic finance, taking of interest usually is forbidden, is prohibited. So if there is any element of paying or activities which involve interest, it has to be eliminated. And I strongly believe that, of course, through technology, we can always put the guidelines in order for us to ensure that you see all these requirements of Sharia is fulfilled. And of course, I mean, there are certain requirements when it comes to contract. For example, the issue of ownership in contract, you see, the subject matter of contract have to be certain and whatnot. So all these related information about the subject matter of the contract can also be embedded within the system in order for us to fulfill or satisfy the requirement of Sharia. Now, in terms of the empowerment of blockchain, particularly as all of us are aware also, perhaps, I mean, it is still, I believe that it is, I believe that it is still at its nascent stage, where we still have to do more in order for us to ensure that the technology is being empowered. Even in Malaysia, for example, and particularly in the SME industry, we have seen that one of the issues that the banks, for example, have is that they do not have enough information about the client, about those who they wanted to provide any kind of financing. And I strongly believe that, you see, we can always use blockchain technology in order to get the information. And nowadays we are talking about the big data and whatnot. You see, if the information is provided, then the right financing can always be extended to those who are in need. And that will, of course, assist in ensuring that we can expand the SMEs industry and can help the less fortunate segment of the society. And that is one of the important areas where Islamic finance can also come. So apart from that, of course, there are other areas that we can always look at it. So thank you very much.
Yeah, I'd like to thank once again our dear speaker. Maybe Erno, did you want to, I see that you unmuted for a little bit. Did you want to add something on top of it?
Yes, if you may. Well, first of all, of course, we are sorry. We wish him all the best. Dr. Akram is a very respected scholar, not only in Malaysia, but internationally. He's sitting at the Sharia boards of several banks in Middle East as well and Central Asia. And we know him, our team knows him for more than 10 years ago. He was always there when something where any company, technology company needed some help in order to vet their technology from Sharia point of view. Just to put you in perspective, for those who are not maybe very familiar with Islamic finance, Sharia banks or Islamic bank, like there are quite a few, especially in Middle East, Southeastern Asia, any product issued by the bank or served or offered for the clients, and the technology which is serving that, it will be vetted by the Sharia board. And when I'm talking about technology, they, as you've seen, they don't vet the blockchain itself in this case. They will see whether the processes related to the products are according to the Sharia. And let me give you a specific example. There are certain financing products, and I deliberately don't call it loan because the loan is prohibited in Sharia and Islam, because that's it will say that it's related to interest, which is prohibited. So they call it financing. And the financing processes, they, in order to be Sharia compliant, they have to follow a very specific sequence of steps. As he also mentioned, the question of ownership, basically buying and selling goods. You're not allowed to sell something where you don't have the ownership already. So getting to a complicated financing process, you will always have to prepare loads of documentations, agreements, and that's where proper technology could help. And if you leave it to, again, to repeat myself, eyeball checking whether certain steps are in place and there's no technology behind them, you have a huge problem when the audit comes. And then that is why that is where we were working together with Dr. Akram. We're looking for his guidance, and came out with, again, with our friends with PixelPlex, with a solution where we can help banks, but not only banks, but smaller financing companies to serve the underserved or to provide financing or a tool of financing. It's not the money, but the processes where we can help for the underserved industry, which is the micro and MSMEs, micro and medium-sized companies, to get easier to get through these processes, financing processes, using the help of the technology. And that is how, that is basically what he was also mentioning, that it needs to be more, needs to be put more automation and more security in these processes. And that's how this type of solution help.
Mm-hmm. I see. And we also have one more comment from Dr. Laldin regarding some of the expectations towards digitalization in Islamic worlds.
On the expectation towards a system which provides digitalization, of course, I mean, if we are talking about Islamic finance, then the expectation is that it has to fulfill, of course, I mean, all the requirements of Sharia. I did mention some of the requirements in my earlier speech just now, you see, and if I can perhaps elaborate more on this, it is important, of course, I mean, from the Sharia point of view, there are certain guidelines, there are certain fundamentals, rulings and whatnot, which has to be abided by the, I mean, those who are using Islamic finance. And of course, as all of us are aware, that when we are developing a system, it is important to ensure if it is to be used for the purpose of Islamic finance, then the system have to fulfill all the requirements of Islamic finance. And here come the role of the expert in Islamic finance, the scholars and whatnot, to provide the guideline, to provide the input on how, you see, to ensure that this system are in line with Sharia. If you look into the development that has taken place in the industry at the moment, I mean, we have, for example, some of the solutions, you see, that provide, for example, the solution for certain products that is available in the market, for the different kind of transactions that is being used. We have seen that the industry experts, I mean, they work together with the scholars, and the scholars will go through the system and provide the endorsement for the system. So similarly, whenever that we are developing a system through blockchain, which I believe that it is a more robust kind of system platform, that we can include so many components of Islamic finance. You see, again, it will need, I mean, the input from the scholars in order for us to ensure that it is in line with the requirement of Sharia. And also, it is also important for us to understand that in terms of the implementation, you see, of this system, I mean, it has to be consistent, you see, and we have to ensure that it is in line with the Sharia throughout. And in terms of the input, I don't see any issue with the input. We can always create and put certain parameter within the system, you see, which in which it is a requirement of Sharia. And in terms of, I believe that accuracy of the implementation, perhaps once you have all the parameters, all the guidelines in the system, then the system will be able, you see, through AI, the system will be able to tell you, you see, whether a particular contract, for example, or a particular transaction do satisfy with the requirement of Sharia, which has been input into the system. So, I mean, this is generally about the expectation, you see, when it comes to a system that we want to develop, you see, from the Sharia point of view. And of course, I mean, we do have the resources that we can empower. And I believe that when we empower this the blockchain, you see, it will assist, you see, in fulfilling the objective of Sharia in financial transactions. And this is one of the areas which we are seeing now in the industry, that people are talking about it, people are, you see, people are, moving towards this direction in the industry. So thank you very much.
Thank you once again. Thanks to our dear Dr. Laldin. He couldn't be with us today, but he still managed to provide his insights. And also, we have a couple of comments here. First of all, Rehab has left us some valuable inputs considering Sharia process. Maybe, Rehab, would you want to speak up, or would you want me to read your messages out loud? Probably I'll just read it. So he says that, oh yeah, sure, go ahead, please. Just unmute yourself, please.
Yes. First of all, thank you everyone. Thank you, Anastasia, and thanks PixelPlex, and hi to everyone. This is Rehab, and I'm calling and speaking from Ira Digital, based out of Dubai and in the heart of the Middle East. And when Erno mentioned that, this audit was one of the important market, and the whole Middle East is an important market where you have many banks and financial firms that they've been really looking for now blockchain, and they would like, to move with the technology. And I've implemented myself few of the core banking system, which is the Sharia compliance. So yeah, I can see there's lots of input about the Sharia compliance, but at the end, I would like, not to make it simple, but to make it easy. It's not really very complicated. It is just a set of process that is there is few firms in Bahrain and in Saudi themselves. They have those process in place, and they've certified and with all the endorsement from the Sharia and from the people whom they take care of those processes, and then so in that space I guess like, I mean, Erno and the technical eyes and PixelPlex themselves, we can also help them in getting those compliance and getting them tried or implemented in a way or another, plus the valuable inputs that came from the Dr. Mohamad and the other guy just now spoke about the Sharia and the process of Sharia. Yeah, so at the end, it's just like, I mean, a process, and where you can really see blockchain with the centralized system can really add big value to it, and it can make it really useful and at the same time very easy, as the you mentioned at the very beginning of the presentation, that blockchain, it is about everything has to go in process and everything to be checked, and all are decentralized, cross borders, there is no limitations. Only you have to have your credentials, you have to have your security in place to process your transaction to get everything done. Thank you very much, Studia. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your very valuable input. Erno, did you want to comment?
Well, no, I fully agree with Rahab. And it's the industry itself is knowledgeable, and I've seen myself that lots of the players they implementing or using, since that's our topic today, a blockchain which gives an additional security layer to the processes. Even Dr. Akram, when he was talking about parameters and basically execution, it was basically referring to the smart contracts. Lots of automation can be further done in those existing technologies or systems, or you can build from scratch a new one. It's also increases the inclusion. Banks are reluctant to reach out to certain type of clients, again, micro SMEs, SMEs. Even in Malaysia, there's a very large refusal percentage for loan or financing applications, and then using a proper technology, then it could reduce the risks for the banks, so they can reach out to the larger set of clients, providing them the much needed financing. And again, when I'm talking banks, actually, I mean also not other financing companies which are not banks, because banks are happy with usually with their existing client. Yeah.
Okay, and also Erno, we have one more question for you, specifically from Simon. Simon, could you please take the floor here?
Hello, Erno.
Hey, Simon.
Warm greeting from, yes, Wellington, New Zealand. So your company is providing solution technology. For example, company A. What is your company's approach? What I'm saying is, are you providing first off-the-shelf, solution, so that it's giving the flexibility to users to tweak it? Well, number two, are you going to do the consultation and provide the tailored-made software or solution? Number three, what about, do you guys have some templates like SAP does, and then provide the templates and let them tweak, or are you guys going to tweak them?
Okay, thanks for the question, Simon. Well, right now, at this stage of our product life cycle, we provide, I think it was the version A. The reason is that several industries we were discussing, and one of the, as Mr. Wong said, basically, certain activities can be already managed by the actual version. However, so right now, if you would ask me to start to use the solution, we will provide a set of features which we are confident and can manage most of your needs. And if you're in a certain space like advisory or company secretary, especially in Commonwealth, then I would say we manage 99% of your needs related to certain processes. However, obviously, we are having a development timeline for adding more and more, not only industries, but adding more and more features to the system. The latest release is actually, and we will talk about it, will be a next topic, I think, the digital signature possibility, which is coming out this month, actually in June. It's a continuous evolution of the solution, and even right now we are open to tailor-made approach. Right now we are confident that tens of thousands of companies can use the solution and eliminate most of the pain from the daily processes. Eliminate paperwork, eliminate unnecessary communication, eliminate the need of chasing other people for response and reconciling the information received. So that's why. So A is there, B is also available. C, I think it will come sometimes next year when we will give so-called templates, and so the people that can parameterize themselves. Although there is a certain level of parameterization in the system, you can set the notification timelines you want to receive when certain events occur. So there is certain things. I'm glad to elaborate to anybody who reaches out to us. Thank you for the question again.
Yeah. Oh no. The reason why they asked the question is I see your company as not just technical solution provider. It's more like you will be providing best practice in the business. You ended up providing best practice in the business. So I think when you're just selling the technology, the benefit or return on investment can be limited. But if you are selling as best practice, I would think you would get the most out of your offering. I mean, that's what SAP does at the moment.
Well, I wouldn't compare ourselves to SAP, not yet. Obviously, thank you. It's the idea is perfectly summarizing what we want to achieve when we are talking to any potential client. Some of out of the market, some companies, they won't know, and it's let's not talk about only our solution. And when you're bringing something new in general to the market, especially something as new as a blockchain-based solution, backed solutions, the potential, I mean, certain companies, they are just happy with the actual flow and they're not missing. They don't know what they are missing. They don't know that can be automated. It takes some research. It takes, of course, some education for them to know that they can basically very easily simplify the processes. It's kind of education, yes. It's kind of consulting work, but sometimes you don't have to. You don't have to think of very complicated things like a Big Four team of 20 people moves into your office for $2 million per week, just to give you a PowerPoint at the end of the 2 weeks. No, I'm talking about very simple, like in case of Mr. Wong, and well, he realized himself that it's very simple. I can rid of the printing. I can get rid of the unnecessary emails. That's it. The business process changed and then simplified, and everybody's happy. My clients are happy. I'm happy. That type of consulting is always there. You just have to show that there is an easy way. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Thank you so much for the question. Thank you so much for the question, Simon. Yeah, and so just we wanted to touch a little bit of e-signatures topic today. It's actually a very broad topic. I guess it takes a whole separate webinar to get all the questions, and it's very specific towards different regions. So maybe today we could just touch a little bit of what are the specific requirements for such a solution for Malaysia, and also as a follow-up question, I have accumulated a few questions that our clients have previously asked us about such solutions during our calls. Of course, leaders all over the world hear bits and bytes about signing with blockchain or blockchain management in general, but then they just tell their innovation departments, hey guys, go and figure out for us how it actually works. So the questions these departments usually ask are very simple and generic. Maybe Alex can help us with those after we talk about Malaysia. This would be a question of, what do I exactly sign? Where does the document go? And if it's on blockchain, does everyone actually see my document? Does everyone has access to it? Or where is it stored? So those are very basic questions, but I guess it takes a little bit of technical insight to answer them. So let's go one by one, starting with Malaysia and moving to the technical part of it. Erno? Yeah.
Well, I would be, Mr. Wong, you want to jump in and telling from your point of view as a company secretary, maybe a few words, if you don't mind, otherwise.
Sorry. Okay. Most of the documents that we are handling are actually privileged information that it's belong to each company. So in our profession, we have to handle the documents, very securely, and we want to ensure that no information has been withheld in a very confidently. This is the confidence level that we need to give to our clients, right? So so most of our documents, at the moment, we are going through some changes. So previously, documents are actually filed up in our files, and then we have to securely lock it, and then the access to the information is controlled, and we have our control system to do it, right? So if you have a system like blockchain, then if it's secure, then we can actually access to that documents only with the people that is authorized to access to them. All right. So if a blockchain technology, when you have an audit trail, and then you have people who are assigned to access, these are the I would say areas that we are looking at. On top of that, also will be on security. How secure is the system itself? In terms of whether it's easily to be hacked. What are the security that's in place in the technology and the system or the platform itself, so that we can give the highest confidence level to our clients when they actually make the decision to actually to digitalize some of the processes. And then just to add on to what we have discussed earlier on is if we have able to move on to the next stage where we can have a digital signature, that will be good for the industry. So you can actually approve all your documents. We don't care wherever you are in the world, as long as you have access to the internet securely. You not necessarily having a laptop, even with a handphone or a tablet, you can actually complete the process confidently. Yeah, with a digital signature, it's every document that is approved is authenticated to your to that person that is directed to. So with that, the only things that we have to work a little bit hard in the Malaysia environment is to actually convince one of the I would say the service provider, which is the banks and the financial institutions over in Malaysia, to actually try to adopt. We can see certain overseas banks. That means banks that have branches in Malaysia. They are actually started to adopt digitalization, and also to actually adopt to approve or to accept documents that is digitally signed. Yeah. So if you ask me, in my opinion, I think digital signature is much more secure than an actual signature itself, actually. In our profession, like for example, company secretary, we are the approved person to be the liaison person between companies and the regulators, which is the Companies Commission of Malaysia. So some of our, I would say, documents or information to be lodged. For example, something we call a document called annual return. So every annual return that we are submitting for the client, we have to put in our each individual company secretary digital signature. So every company secretary that is approved by the regulators has to sign up for a digital signatories. For example, TM Telecom Malaysia, TM1 is offering one of the digital signature facilities available. So every document that every annual return that is lodged or submitted to the regulators, it has to be digitally signed by the company secretary before it is accepted in the system. So you can see, in the industry, we are actually moving forward in a positive way to actually adopt digital signatories eventually, right? And in terms of legal framework, I think there are not many, I think 1 or 2 cases in Malaysia that the Malaysian court has actually accepted digital signature as a proof that you have actually signed up or approved in a agreement itself. So I think this is a very positive development for the industry in Malaysia itself. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Wai. And just Alex, maybe could you comment on the questions I previously voiced, the simple ones yet very often asked about what is signed and where is the document? Does everyone see my document or not? So in very simple, not tech maybe words, what happens with the document when it gets signed?
Well, a signed document. Sorry, I just could hear some echo. A signed document, or any document on a blockchain solution is actually represented by a cryptographic hash. So you cannot see it if you have access to blockchain. However, in permission blockchains, not everybody has access to the data on blockchain anyway, unlike on public blockchain where everybody could see everything. So in terms of privacy, blockchain provides a very robust solution whereby only allow people who allow to access blockchain and have the appropriate access credentials could view any documents that they actually are allowed to view. They can't view any other documents within the private blockchain, and people from outside do not have access to the blockchain at all.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much. And Alex, won't let you go just now. One more question. We have covered so many advantages, how brilliant the system is, how easy it is to connect, but we don't believe in a perfect world. There's always a downside to everything. So maybe could you comment a little bit on some of the limitations of the system, if they exist? Maybe they don't exist, but if they do exist for document management, for electronic signing in general, what are some of the limitations of such systems? Maybe it's the speed, maybe it's the cost, or what comes to mind?
Well, because of the privacy of blockchain and the prevalence of private keys, it's a very important to have in place a good private key management system. So in essence, if a private key is lost, there is no way to recover this information. So it's like a double-edged sword. It's a good thing, but it requires a proper procedure behind this. It could be done on technological and operational levels. And if it's done correctly, then it's an advantage. However, if it's not done correctly and a private key is lost, then it could result in the loss of data. You know? So that's, I suppose, the the weakest spot. And the other thing is the cultural adoption of it, because the way the system works, although the internal processes could be hidden behind the user interface, it's still different, and there could be some misunderstanding about the process flow within the system. However, I expect that this particular issue to go away, simply because the adoption is gathering pace, and I expect users will get used to this new paradigm of document management.
Thank you so much. Yes, especially the first point you mentioned, it's very crucial, but I guess at the same time, any innovative technology takes a lot of learning, and you always have to teach your personnel how to use it. Of course, most of them do not let you lose all the data at once, but at the same time, this is the only one so far that we see gives such a level of security. So thank you so much for the comment. And I encourage our guests to write their questions, because I'm coming to our last question for today's session. Will be a general one to everyone here, maybe not only even the panelists, maybe someone else wants to speak up. A general question would be, do you think that blockchain-based solutions for document management, for electronic signing, for decision-making are a luxury, or are they a must-have? So how do you envision this in, like, let's say 5 years? Do you see many companies using them, or should we just wait a little bit and the world is not ready and it's more of a luxury for people who do really feel that they need it? So Alex, go ahead, please.
Well, the obvious advantages becoming very apparent to large enterprises. For example, the Bilan Group in Poland are now implementing a solution for the Polish credit referencing agency. So there are multiple stakeholders within the system, various banks, insurance companies, and others. You know, they need to understand, for example, the risk when they lend, when they run their lending operations and other various operations related to credit referencing. So before the introduction of the system, all this data was siloed. So in essence, to exchange the necessary information to compile a file for one single person, it was an arduous task. You need to gather all this information from all those different stakeholders in order to understand and generate a credit rating. There were some exchange systems, information exchange systems using various APIs, XML feeds, and things like that. But then there is a security issue with that. Also, it's not an all-encompassing system that allows a seamless document sharing between stakeholders. So they created the system whereby, in essence, a case file could be passed on throughout the system in a seamless fashion, and with a complete security of its privacy, because it's very important to keep the financial transactions and financial data private. And they managed to achieve that simply because they use a blockchain document management system. And it's just one of a few cases whereby, even at the government level, blockchain document management is being implemented. And I see how this trend is only going to grow, and it's inevitable because the benefits of it hugely outweigh the implementation costs. And it's just a matter of time before almost every single document in existence is managed by blockchain. Things like, for example, if you need to receive a visa to a country where you can't just enter with your passport, then across the border cooperation between the states to share this information is only possible if the states are closely aligned and share various security databases. Blockchain could make this process much easier because it could use zero proofs in order to say that, yes, this particular individual has our stamp of approval, there is a tick mark next to it, and there is a proof that we actually did all the work without disclosing the work. And that is only possible using a blockchain solution at the moment, simply because there are cross-border regulations that would never allow the sharing of this kind of data. And this trend is only going to increase, and it is only going to become more prominent and prevalent within business processes and governmental processes around the world.
Thank you so much, Alex. Thank you. Couldn't agree more. I guess it's all the question of educating public these days. Like the more we spread the word, the faster we see the results. Yeah. Thank you, Rehab. Yes. You see, you have people who agree with you here. And Erno or Yuki, maybe you could weigh in here.
Well, if you allow me, obviously I fully agree. It's and I don't even think you have to kind of do too much education. Education is on technology. As for the IT people, I would say they will bring it as a final user. Usually, you only see that that there's a technology or a new system, call it whatever you want, that is being you start to use, and everything is much faster, everything is more secure, and then your processes are done within a very much shorter time. Again, in these cases we discussed earlier, you don't have to print anymore. You will just see as the benefits. It's the technology sector who has to do the groundwork and make it available for everybody, so that users they don't have to know anything about the blockchain. I'm pretty sure that most of the clients they are using, I mean clients of our clients, they don't know it's a blockchain based solution they are using. They're just happy. Obviously the service provider they will know. And so I don't think it's a luxury. It's the question is, and that's why we are looking for years before we started our journey for use cases. It's just well, blockchain won't cure the cancer, but it will help obviously at the background. But it's not a solution for all processes. But there are more and more use cases where the technology behind it's allowing you to create solutions which makes your life easy, and that's where we have a lot of to do.
Well, if scientific papers are shared over a document management system, that might as well contribute to the, treatment of cancer. You never know. So I wouldn't be that categorical.
Yes.
So we see there are many aspects all around it. The technology is vital, it's crucial. Also, of course, seamless UI, UX, so that the person might not even know there's blockchain behind it and just use it and feel very secure about it as on an everyday basis. And a great deal of consulting goes into it as well. Always, it's you guys, Alex, it's our work to, as you mentioned earlier, to provide the easy way, to show the light, the easy way to make sure that people do not see a problem in the solution, that they see it as a solving element of all their pains. So Yuki, did you want to weigh in as well on this one?
Yes, just a bit on, I think we have a lot of, knowledge or notion about it has to be internal processes, workflow automation. But this is also, let me reiterate that communication between company and external professional services like company with company secretary like Mr. Wong, it's secure. We can just share audit, financial reports and such, which in traditional way, you print it out, use a courier or sometimes share documents and all of that. And the turnaround time, security, speed, and all of that. So it's not just internal workflow, but it's external workflows as well, just to reiterate in a layman's term. That's one. And the other thing, I'm representing the external, not external, like from the audience perspective. Maybe Alex, you mentioned about the limitations. Maybe you could give an answer what to mitigate that kind of problem about losing the private key right now that the companies are doing.
Well, yes, absolutely. So first of all, it's procedural things, the way the keys are handled. Then there is a technology solution, which is a multi-signature access, whereby you need, for example, 3 out of 5 signatures to move a document, or you allow multiple keys to have access to one particular document. So in essence, the technology is there. It's just the appropriate implementation and the procedural and operational aspects of it that could really solve this issue. So as I said earlier, if you plan this right and implement it in the correct way, because you also need to balance that with the security concerns, you can't give access to too many people to private keys, or you can't have a master private key that opens all the doors. You know, you can't have that. You know, on a procedural level and using multi-signature access, you know, private keys, you could solve this issue, but it needs to be really planned out, and it needs to be really implemented in a really a good sort of balanced way to have security concerns on one side and you know, contingency on the other.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.